Greetings, friends. It's kind of a cold day out in the greenhouse, but this is my best creative space, so this is where I like to hang out. I've got heaters in here. It's not freezing, but we do have snow on the ground in Atlanta, which is a rare thing. So the city kind of shuts down and everybody takes some time and relaxes. And what I'm going to do today is write a piece of flash fiction. Now, flash fiction is a story, a complete story, in less than 1,000 words. In fact, some publications want it in 800 or less. Some want it in under 500. Depends on which flash fiction outlet you're writing for. I'm looking to get in under 800 words. I want to tell a complete little story and come up with the idea, write the story, and then I'm also using it on my podcast. I've started what I'm calling Flash Monk, and I'm doing readings of these little pieces and throwing those up so that you can actually listen to the story. Or when I get to the end of the year, maybe I'll compile it all and put it out in a book. I don't know. I actually found a place online today that does that. They take flash fiction compilations and they will consider publishing it. So, that's kind of cool. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's what I'm doing today out here in the greenhouse. And so sit back, and you don't have to watch me write. I'll come back and then I'll kind of share some thoughts about the process and then share the link for the podcast. Enjoy your Saturday afternoon. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. That took me 55 minutes. 55 minutes from start to finish. I have finished my little flash fiction story. It's called The Lonely Season. It is 735 words long, so right underneath that 800 mark that I was going for. It's the story about a guy in a cabin in the middle of the winter who lives by himself with a cat he doesn't like. And what happens when a particularly nasty ghost shows up. That's the story. And so it'll be a fun one to record now. That's what I'll do. I'll read it, record it, and then I can format it, and I'll post it as Flash Monk 2, The Lonely Season. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a really good exercise if you are learning to write or you're trying to get better at your craft of writing. Forcing yourself to come in and do this, to me, has been a really helpful experience, been a really good exercise. It makes you really pick your words. It makes you condense your ideas. It makes your prose much tighter. And you can still use adjectives, right? I mean, you still want to be descriptive. It's still, you want to develop some piece of the character, even though you don't have much space to do that. But it's fun. And it's challenging, and I think the challenging part is the important part, because it does cause you to have to really, really dig in, think about how you want to say what you're saying. Now, for me, the fun part is too, I don't really know what the story is going to be until, I don't know what that was. I don't know what the story is going to be until I get into it. I have the idea. I start with the opening sentence. Once the snow starts falling, it won't let up for at least 3 months. That's all I knew about this, but I had the idea, sat and worked it through, and I think it's a fun little story. So, like I said, next thing I'm going to do is format it as a podcast, get that up. I'll post the link on this video, and I encourage you, write that flash fiction. It's a really fun thing to do, and it will help you get better at writing. See you next time.
Flash Monk. Experimental fiction.
Once the snow starts falling, it won't let up for at least 3 months. The temperature outside will drop to a brutal 10 below zero and hover there until winter's end. My cabin is wind resistant, warm and cozy. I have plenty of food stored and wood chopped. As long as I stay inside, I will be fine. Tinkerbell, the big gray tomcat, keeps the rodent population down in return for a warm spot in the window to sleep the days away. He doesn't really like me, and I don't particularly care for him, but our arrangement works as long as he doesn't spray on my bed. If he does, I chunk his hairy butt outside for a while. He always comes back repentant about sundown and minds his manners for a bit. Other than Tink, I'm up here on the high pass alone. Sort of. There are ghosts who occasionally stop to visit. Sometimes they linger for a day or two, sometimes just a few minutes or hours. At times they will engage in conversation, other times they just appear and disappear for no reason. And sometimes a real booger shows up that shrieks and clatters the pans and throws paper on the floor and pushes the door open. I don't know what its problem is. Maybe it's a discontent refugee from hell, or the lingering scorn of an abused woman set loose to torture humanity. Tinkerbell hates it and hides whenever it comes around. I'm not so lucky. I have to endure the thing until it moves along. We call it the lonely season because it is. The days are short, the nights long, the weather foul, and the company non-existent. That makes the occasional visit from the wandering spirit a nice diversion, unless it's the wild one. I would rather be alone. I was splitting wood for the stove, and Tink was cracking the bones of his latest victim when the door flew open and the wind howled through the room. I shook my head in disgust, put the hatchet down, and closed it, making sure the bolt was securely in place. When the hatchet flew past my head and embedded itself into the door frame, I knew I was in trouble. Tinkerbell slunk behind the woodpile like a coward and left me to deal with whatever the hell it was by myself. An invisible arm raked everything off the mantel, including the kerosene lamp that I barely caught before it smashed into the floor. The door was closed tightly, but the howling of the wind continued to grow in intensity until it was deafening. The stovepipe rattled, sending soot billowing like a cloud that covered everything with a fine black residue. The lid from the soup pot flew across the room, and I ducked just as it whizzed past my head. The stove was still stoked and burning, but the temperature in the cabin began to fall. I could see my breath and began to shiver as I dodged flying pieces of firewood, my boots, jacket, hat, gloves, and other assorted garments. The table flipped over, and my chair rose into the air, suspended by hatred, I suppose, and then it crashed down, narrowly missing my foot. I didn't utter a word, didn't offer a prayer, didn't make a hex sign, didn't try to pick up anything. I was too busy dodging the things that kept being hurled at me by the whatever it was. It screamed and laughed, scattered, shattered, broke, bent, belted, and battered everything it could. Then the door flew open again, and it was gone. I closed and bolted the door and started picking things up and restoring order to my little world. Tinkerbell snuck out after making sure the coast was clear and sat by the stove gnawing on his foot. I considered kicking him as a reward for his bravery, but I was too tired. Finally, I sat down and enjoyed my soup and after-dinner brandy, and as I slipped into the bed, I realized I was grateful for the visit from the damned thing. I could hear the sleet beating on the roof, the wind whistling through the trees, and the cat purring at my feet, and I knew that no matter what happened after that visit, I was not going to feel lonely at all.
You have been wasting time with Flash Monk. Experimental fiction.